Hello guys, this is Itjustoneguy, and today here I'm doing something a bit different. I'm doing a little background research just to show how I come up with research and ideas and stuff like that. And with this particular idea, I was working on the combat system for the Mistborn game I'm making. And what I wanted the combat system to be was a cross between the Witcher's 3 combat system, like how they do the flowing dancing moves and stuff like that, and how they have the soft target lock, and the Devil May Cry system, where it's more frenetic and crunching combat. And I started playing Devil May Cry 5 again, just to just to see what was in it and analyze the system. And it actually revealed some surprising things that I didn't notice when I was just playing through the game. Now this video is just going to be a bit different. I'm just going to show you some of the things that I noticed that was interesting in the Devil May Cry game combat system. Because the system isn't as complex as you would think it is. It is actually really simple. But what makes it stand out is the animations and the sound. Now the first thing we have is the combos. Here's a simple combo like that. If you watch my Mistborn update, I was able to replicate that combo pretty easily. And then he has more complicated combos like this, which I was also able to replicate, but in a different way. And that wasn't because I couldn't replicate the combo. That was just because I felt in my specific game I wouldn't want a combo like that because it was kind of complicated to do during combat. Now, one of the more shocking things that I noticed when I went back and started really analyzing the combat system from a game developer's point of view is the characters have no hit animation. I don't mean the main character, I mean like the monsters. And I've actually tested this with every single monster. No monster has a hit animation. Now what they do have is a stagger animation. But that only comes into play when you actually stagger the monster. And I could go through different monsters, but it would all be the same. They do this effect that when they get the monster gets slashed. I guess they changed the shader to show the slash effect, but they don't actually play an animation. And now one of the important things is having no hit animation. That means you have no way to stop the monster from attacking. Like, let me just change his settings. And this was something I didn't notice until I looked at it from a game developer's point of view. Let's just go back. Since he never gets technically hit, because he never has to stop and play a hit animation like in a normal game, so you can't actually stop his attack. The only thing that can stop his attack is staggering hit. Just turn the sound a bit down. The only thing that can actually stop his attack is a staggering hit. Now Nero himself, he only has two damage animations. One right here where you're facing the character, and he does that little flyback thing, and then he has one where he takes a lighter hit, that one right there. Now the interesting thing about that is instead of animating the character to fly left and right and back and forward like I did, they just simply had the character automatically face his target when he gets hit. You can see Nero did a quick turn to face his character. That way you can save a lot of time on animations by just playing an animation going straight backwards, which was actually pretty brilliant and something I didn't even notice in the game until I started playing it. And for a gameplay effect, it makes sure that you're always primed for a counterattack. You don't have to waste time turning around the character when you get hit. So if you get hit, all you have to do is press the attack button again. If you get hit with your back turned, press the attack button. He's already facing the target. So what it has on the gameplay, the gameplay effect is the combat feels quicker just because Nero can respond instantaneously. Another thing that Devil May Cry does in its combat system is the animations play a bit faster than the other games. Like, even though this isn't the realistic way you would swing a sword, because that would be actually ridiculous, he's over swinging it. But in other games, like say Dark Souls or something like that, uh, that swing would have been slower to emphasize the power. But in Devil May Cry, all of his swings are pretty quick. And this is just some of the stuff I noticed. Uh, this is where I got the idea. If you watch my Mistborn update for a durability, essentially what I created was I gave the monster a health bar, but I also gave him a small durability bar. And when that durability bar hit 0, similar to in this game, I would assume the monster can be knocked down, similar to this. Now, another interesting thing is if you hit this monster too much, he does an automatic counterattack. You just saw with that little block thing he does, but if you do too much damage, that's what you'll do. Now, the actual AI controlling the monster is not that complex. All he does is face the player, and he walks towards the player. He has a dash attack, but mainly he's just gonna do this three prong attack right here: swing, swing, and then an overhead. And he doesn't even face the player when he does it, so you can easily get behind him. And that's another thing I learned from this system. Uh, the monster doesn't always have to face the player. Now, logically, in a real fight, yeah, even if he had a sword that large, there would be no way he would be doing chops like this, because clearly the player is nowhere in range of that. He can also block your attack if you damage him too much. And I'm trying to get him to do a little charge attack, but he doesn't seem to want to do it. He has a little attack where he charges the sword up and run forward. Now, the other AI in the game isn't that complicated either, and I believe the point of this is because you're going to be fighting a lot of them in games, so it was no need to make them more complex just because of the nature of the game. But it's interesting how much personality they have and how much more complicated you would assume the AI is just from playing the game. And mainly that comes from all the animations and the cool character design. But these are just some of the things I noticed when I was playing the game, when trying to replicate the system, looking at it from a game developer's point of view. See, he does that auto counter where he blocks, and he mainly does that if he takes too much damage in one swing. See, he did it right there again. He has like an auto counter. But that's just some of the things I noticed from looking at it from a game developer's point of view. Also noticed how the camera zooms out when you lock onto him. Now, I didn't notice this before either. If I lock onto the monster, the camera is it's not only showing the monster, but it's also keeping Nero within the camera view. And I developed a system like this before, but if you look back on my channel, how to keep two 3D objects in the camera view, the player and the enemy, but I couldn't figure out how to use it. And I thought this was an interesting use of it, because even though the camera isn't locked on, because the character's locked on, but the camera's not locked on. As you can see, I can go to the other side, and the camera angle doesn't change. But the camera is locked on to a degree to show both people. Whereas if I didn't lock onto them, I could just leave. So that's something else interesting I noticed, which I plan on implementing in my game, because it makes it the whole thing feel a bit more cinematic, especially when you're doing one-on-one duels, and you can see it feels a bit more cinematic. And just from a practical point of view, you can see that it looks really nice. Well, it has a gameplay value because you can see the enemy at all times and you can see the player. But that's just some of the things I noticed from playing around with Devil May Cry 5 and its combat system, which was really interesting. And looking at it from a game developer's point of view rather than an actual player's point of view. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you like this type of content because it's just to show you a little behind the scenes of some of the stuff I'll be doing to come up with some of the ideas that I'll be coming up with. Thank you for watching.